that being said, it's really strange because I understand with the alcohol-free drinks that they make the branding exactly the same as the alcohol drinks, right? You can barely tell the difference. Good evening. Hello to everybody. I'm just going to ask Sarah to come on and join me. Well, it's our Sunday evening live, myself and Sarah, and my dogs apparently. Welcome to everyone. Hello, you're right. My dogs are like wanting to join in too.
I was so like, is that going to happen? Is it going to work?
Who knows? I might be here talking on my own. My idea of hell. How are you?
All right, thank you.
Good.
All right.
Is the sun shining in the UK?
Off and on. Day of sun, day of -2, bit of rain.
What?
Nice.
Yeah. Sun is shining here. It makes all the difference, I feel like. You had a good week?
Yeah, great, thanks.
Yeah.
Good.
So for those who don't know me, I'm Ellen. I am founder of Sobriety, Sisterhood, and this is Sarah. Say hello, Sarah.
Hi.
And tonight every week we're doing a chat around sobriety, our relationship with alcohol, and hopefully they'll be full of tips and tools for you on your sobriety journey, and just sharing a little bit more about our story too. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about alcohol-free drinks, which is, I always feel like this is a Marmite subject for people. People either love them or really hate them, and they're normally quite divided. There's nobody who's like, oh, I can take or leave them. There's people that either really actually use them as a crutch in their journey, and there's people who find them extremely triggering in their journey because they're so similar to alcohol. So Sarah, do you have any kind of story with alcohol-free? What's your opinion on alcohol-free drinks? When we're talking alcohol-free, we're talking about like the replacements, right? Alcohol-free beer. In the UK, I noticed when I went back, there is everything. There is alcohol-free gin, there's all the Gordons, it seems like everybody, Guinness, Heineken, they all seem to have their alcohol-free version. So Sarah, what's your experience with them and your opinion on them?
So when I started, I thought, no, it'd be too much of a trigger. I was totally against them. And I kind of thought, it's just wasted calories, it's just a waste of time. And then I was fed up of drinking a Coke when I went out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try an alcohol-free beer, and found a really nice one, Erdinger Zero, which is delicious. And then I was like, okay, but now I'm drinking these zero beers at the same speed as I would drink alcoholic beer. Yeah, it was a real and I was getting really bloated and really gassy and really bad tummy ache really quickly. And I was like, what are you doing? And they're not much cheaper either when you're out. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Now you're just replacing an expensive habit for another expensive habit. Okay, it's alcohol-free, but what are you doing? And I was listening to people in the coaching group talk about on a Friday night they would have a number of alcohol-free drinks to wind down. So the association was still there with kind of for who it's Friday. So I stopped drinking them. Now, I think before I was going out much more frequently, so it really felt like I was drinking a lot of them. Now I'm not going out frequently at all, which is a choice I've made to get away from the pub culture.
Yeah.
So I went on a works night out, a works afternoon out on Friday. Ofsted came and it was really like a celebration of them going. So we went to a local pub and they had alcohol-free beer on draft.
Okay.
Which I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. So I had a couple of pints of alcohol-free beer on draft. Some people that I knew from the party scene were like, what are you doing? Does that mean you're drinking? I was like, no, it's alcohol-free, don't worry. So I'm quite Marmite about a lot of things, but on this, I'm not. I think if they help you get through a social situation that you would otherwise feel tempted into drinking alcohol, or would make you feel too uncomfortable to attend, then why not?
Yeah.
I mean, why not anyway? But why not?
Yeah.
If they're really going to help you to feel at ease and remain sober, then why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
It's quite interesting. Sorry to interrupt. I love the shift in kind of the pub culture and restaurants where they are bringing in more alcohol-free drinks, because, right, if we get everybody a safe space with their alcohol consumption, that being said, everyone can benefit from giving up alcohol. But if we could get, people are there's less road traffic accidents, there's less domestic violence, there's less kind of depression because people are having those alcohol-free options mixed in with alcohol, then I think that would be a brilliant future. It's funny having them on draft. I get completely paranoid if I'm out. If somebody brings me it in draft, I'd much rather they bring me it in bottle and I can see that it's an alcohol-free one. Otherwise, I ask like 3 or 4 times, is this definitely alcohol-free? Probably because I live in France, so I try and always make sure that there is no mistaking
no.
that I've asked for an alcohol-free version. But it is quite interesting. So how far into your journey did you start kind of using them then?
Probably, probably about a year later, I think.
Okay.
Because I thought that I was worried that having the taste, the fizz, and the association might be too much to resist.
Yeah.
Then saying, um, or maybe that I couldn't trust myself
Yeah.
to not realise it wasn't alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah, it is quite. So I think I was the same as you to a certain extent. I mean, my alcohol-free journey was tied in a lot to well-being anyway. So like that whole idea of eating to nourish myself and drinking to nourish myself or not. So because I was so interested in nutrition, I don't drink sodas. I
Mm.
drink things and eat things that have a real nutritional value. And to me, it was, well, alcohol free doesn't. It's just, nutritionally it doesn't make sense to me. So I
Yeah.
went a year of drinking water and coffee because uh, maybe the odd bit of fruit juice and that's about it. And I remember going to a first birthday party, a friend's daughter, and the father said to me, "What can I get you to drink?" And it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, their daughter's first birthday. And he was like, "Can I get you a beer or a wine?" And I said, "Oh no, I don't drink, thanks. I'll just have some water." And he went, "Well, you can get that yourself." And I was like, "Oh, interesting." And it was the first real negative kind of comment I'd had about my sobriety. And interestingly, lots of people did talk to me about my sobriety at that party. But then I remember going to a party at their house the next time, and I made sure that I took alcohol-free beers with me, just so it was almost like to make other people feel comfortable. And I was at that stage, we talked about it last week, where I felt like a lot of shame around my sobriety and that
Mm.
I wasn't the fun person that everyone knew anymore. So it kind of made everyone else comfortable to see me with a drink in my hand. Um, that being said, it's really strange because I understand with the alcohol-free drinks that they make the branding exactly the same as the alcohol drinks, right? You can barely tell the difference. And I had to stop people taking my alcohol-free drinks. I was like, "Oh no, no, that one's not got alcohol in." And people would be like, "Oh God, I don't want that." But it made them really comfortable to see me with a drink in my hand and just assume that it was alcohol.
Yeah.
Now, now last night I was having an alcohol-free beer down by the river. I love an alcohol-free beer every now and then. Do I drink them all the time? No, but in 6.5 years of sobriety, I really kind of I have I've um, experimented with them. I've gone through like all the different alcohol-free spirits and just come to the conclusion that actually, for me personally, it's something that's really expensive. That doesn't really bring me that much joy. I'm just as happy with a tonic water with a slice of cucumber in, or or an alcohol-free beer every now and then. or just some water. I love seeing that there's mocktails on the menu, but quite often they are fruit juice based and like syrups and sickly sweet, and I don't particularly like them. So yeah, occasionally I will have an alcohol-free beer, but otherwise, no, like water's good or fruit juice is good. I don't want those. Yeah, I don't need to have those. I don't feel the need to fit in with everybody else.
Yeah. It's, um, it's really, yeah, I think I've come past the point where I'm like constantly acutely aware of the fact that I'm not drinking. You know, at first I was like, oh no, don't drink that. You can't drink that, you're not drinking.
Yeah.
You know, constantly have to remind myself that, no, don't do that. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you thinking of doing that?
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? Why are you thinking it? But that's definitely gone. Although yesterday I met with some friends and I was sitting in a pub and having some lunch, and I drank a drink and I was like, oh, this isn't Coke. This isn't Coke. I don't know what it is. Instantly I was like, it was actually cherry
Oh,
Coke. But instantly
yeah.
but instantly my mind, I was like, I don't recognise this taste.
Yeah.
I can't place it because I don't drink cherry Coke. I was like, I can't place the
Yeah.
taste. Has this got vodka in it? I don't drink vodka. I never drank vodka
Yeah.
when I was drinking. I was like, oh, this isn't right. And you know, when I was drinking, if I drank a drink and I thought, hold on, this isn't what I normally drink, I wouldn't have thought, what is it? I would have thought, oh, it's quite nice, and
Yeah.
drank it anyway. It wouldn't have, it wouldn't have
Yeah.
bothered me.
Well, that again is an interesting point because I've had people before who have accidentally been served alcoholic drinks. Hence my paranoia about if I can't see it coming out of the bottle and I'm not sure what it is. And I have had that once again because the branding is so similar. So I mean, you know, in my house now I don't have alcohol. Very, very rarely I have alcohol. But back in the day when I was like, no, everyone else has got to drink and that's fine. I would keep like my alcohol-free beers and the alcoholic beers like next to each other. And I remember, luckily, I'd been drinking alcohol-free beer, and somebody like went to get more, and they gave me an alcoholic beer, and I took a sip of it, and straight away, because there was the comparison, I went,
Yeah,
that's got alcohol, and they were like, oh my god, I'm sorry. And I've had that with clients before who've said like, oh my goodness, do I have to go back to day one because I've had a sip? Or and no, absolutely, like it doesn't break my sobriety because I had a sip of alcohol that was accidentally given to me.
that's no intentionality there, right?
Nothing, yeah, and it was okay, that was a mistake, cool, let me take my alcohol free bit back. It is interesting serving drinks in my house. Like if I do happen to have people round, I do always make sure there's alcohol-free options in for other people because I don't let them bring alcohol just because it's a real personal thing to me, of keeping this space very, very safe for us. And I like it. It's like a chance for other people to get excited and introduce to alcohol-free drinks and to say, like, actually, look, we can sit and have a really nice evening together, and we can all be alcohol-free, and it's fine. And there's some great drinks out there. And why would we choose the ones with poison in when we can have the ones without poison and have just as good a night?
Yeah, I've got a housewarming party. Well, we'll be having a housewarming party, and I've got to make the decision
Oh,
as to
interesting.
whether I say, yeah, you know, I've never, if I was, um, you know, I would never insist that somebody else didn't drink if I was with them, or if I was I I would prefer that the person didn't drink if I was going out with them for a meal or whatever, just because I think for me there would be no fun having a fifth person to kind of socialise with.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, I've thought about it. I'm not there yet about do I allow alcohol,
Okay. So what's your gut instinct
particularly
with that?
because it's no,
Okay.
and I think particularly that's because it's a new house, you know, for me, and all of my association of the old house are left with the old house, and so for me, it's a real new kind of beginning in this house, and that includes my new values around alcohol.
Okay.
And yeah, it's interesting.
So how do you navigate that, Sarah?
Who knows? I'll do what I feel is right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I really
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah, it
I
is.
think,
Go on.
I think it will put a cat amongst the pigeons for sure.
I mean, there's a few options, I guess. Is that it's a housewarming party, but it's earlier in the day.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that anyway because I'll be in bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah. So you give a beginning and an end time when it will be over by. It is interesting. So when we moved into this house, it was for me, like, again, I've talked about it quite openly, that it was really the end of my marriage, and that living with someone with mental health issues in a very, what felt very kind of unsafe household, with a lot of kind of the associations with drink and cannabis, whereas this for me felt like a fresh start, and I just didn't want alcohol here at all. So I have pretty much, yeah, I love it. My brother comes, my cousin comes, and they were my biggest kind of drinking partners, and they completely respect that. They've never once moaned about it. In fact, they embrace it as kind of their retreat, I guess. Like, okay, this is a time we give our liver a break, and we take a break from alcohol. So I do really like it. I have only ever had one person where I really felt I'd set it up very well and said, just to let you know, I don't have alcohol in the house. And they came to stay. And as she walked through the door, she was like, first of all, let me get a beer. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry, I don't have alcohol in the house. She went, no, I brought my own. And I was like, oh, and the kids kind of went, and you could feel the whole, and I said, oh, you misunderstood. I don't allow alcohol in the house. And she was like, what the fuck? And everybody just like paused. And then kind of, it took her a little while. Like, she was really anxious and she just wanted a drink to loosen up and to feel comfortable. But actually we sat and talked about it. And I was like, look, it's not that I don't, you can drink and you can do whatever. I have alcohol-free options here. But in my house, I want it to stay safe. I want it to stay that, yeah, the kids know who they can deal with and what version of you they're getting. And that's not someone who suddenly gets louder and invades their personal space. And I know that I can say to you, like, whenever I'm going to bed or I'm doing whatever, and that's well received. And in the end, she was like, oh, and it opened up loads of really good conversations between us. But it was interesting kind of navigating that first thing. And now people just know this is an alcohol-free space. But it's daunting. It's the cat among the pigeons. But I guess a lot of that for you is playing the tape forward, right? Like, what does that look like if you allow people to drink at a housewarming party?
Really. Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want the atmosphere. I don't want that environment. I don't want people who are drunk in my. I don't want it in my face. I don't want it to smell like it. I don't want it.
Okay.
Quite simply, I think I am there.
I'm
just not saying it out loud yet.
Yeah. And so if it puts the cat among the pigeons, how does that feel to you, and how do you navigate that?
People have a choice.
Yeah.
They can come to my party and stay sober, or they can not come and be drunk.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
And
it will give me some clarity
exactly that
on what's important to those people.
Yeah. Those who love you and are there to celebrate you moving into this new space and want it to be your haven, and it's a well-deserved new space, then they are going to quite happily turn up and celebrate that with however that looks. So the question is, will you be putting alcohol-free alternatives on?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I don't know. I think I was going to do a mocktail bar.
Okay.
So, you know, virgin mojitos, etc. Yeah. And people can bring alcohol-free versions if they wish.
Okay.
I think people will come with an expectation that if there's no alcohol allowed, that it'll be cups of tea and custard cream. So there'll be cups of tea and custard cream as well.
It's really funny. I remember having our dear family friends over, and like there's 5 of them, they're a family of 5, and my mum saying to them, can I get you a drink? And it used to be in our household, like past 5 o'clock, can I get you a drink, meant a glass of wine or a beer, like, or a gin and tonic. There was nothing else. And I remember the 5 of them wanted a cup of tea, and my mum was like, tea at this time, like, I've got to make tea for 5 people, and it seemed so much hassle. And like, it is so strange how your mindset can completely change to now I'm just like, right, would you like a tea? Have a look at my selection of teas. Like, yeah, please do not. Yeah, do not come here and expect wine or gin and tonic. It is really, really interesting. I love that for you though, because this feels like a, a it feels like a choice point for you to
Absolutely, yeah,
really
absolutely.
protect your space and um, you, um, or to put other people's needs kind of before that. And yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, if someone said, "Please don't smoke in my house," it would be respected,
yeah,
right? I had a vegan friend who said, "I don't have meat in my house."
yeah.
Like, no problem.
Or please take your shoes
I'll
off when
eat,
you come into my house.
or whatever. You know,
Yeah,
please respect the rules in my house.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it is interesting. The other thing, alcohol-free drinks, is children and alcohol-free drinks. Now, I find that this again is quite an interesting kind of, it's an interesting discussion because do we allow kids under 18? Is there a kid under 18 there that wants to talk about?
Already. You want to talk about it? What? Talk about what? Should you be allowed to have an alcohol-free drink?
Yeah, it's alcohol free.
Ah, how old are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
11.
11.
I'm 12 in February.
Okay. Oh, okay. Practically the same age as Oliver then as well. So do we think alcohol free is a good, does it encourage you to have alcohol or does it encourage you as an adult just to have alcohol free drinks, do you think?
You can ask him.
Encouraging people to have alcohol.
It encourages you to have drinks that have alcohol. Do you think it's like
Mm-hmm.
a pathway onto alcoholic drinks? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is quite interesting. I love that the kids are giving their opinions. It's quite interesting because my kids will say, like, can I taste your drink? And I will be, now bearing in mind, I used to be the person that from tiny, my kids were drinking alcohol because I would water it down and be like, I want them to have a good relationship with alcohol like mine was. And now my kids will say to me, can I have some of that alcohol-free drink? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, why? It's got no alcohol in it. And I'm like, because I feel like it encourages you to normalize having alcohol, and I don't like that. Um, yeah, I don't know what you think about that, Sarah.
Um, I once upon a time I would have been the person that said, "Yeah, I'll take my son out to have his first beer
Yeah,
at 16, 18. Yes, I want to be part of his, coming of age, etc." And when we've been on holiday, they've had a little shot glass of beer with a meal.
yeah,
Definitely. Now, no,
no,
no, no, because alcohol is the gateway
yeah,
for everything else. Well, certainly it's my
yeah,
experience. Alcohol is the gateway, and I don't want them associating with the norms and culture that allows alcohol to be that gateway.
yeah,
I don't want it.
no,
You
no. It
know, I don't want it.
it feels
I just
feels
don't want it.
yeah, it feels really uncomfortable, right, to
Yeah,
encourage that now. And as I said, I really was that person that, from the kids being very tiny, would have an equivalent of our drink of some some sorts, watered down or yeah, smaller versions. And now looking back, I'm like, I was literally poisoning my kids, like these
yeah,
pure tiny little bodies that are absolutely not made to process this poison,
yeah, yeah,
and thought it was totally normal. And I remember when I gave champagne to my friend's daughter who was 12 at midnight, her just being like, and me being really shocked by her reaction. And now, when I think, yeah, our sons are going to be 12 in the next couple of weeks, if somebody dared give him alcohol, I'd fight them to the death. Please do not poison my son or make it normal.
yeah.
It is quite interesting. I'm just thinking back to, I do love it when my friends or family get me alcohol-free drinks in, because it always feels really thoughtful, right? Like that
Yeah,
they are,
right.
yeah, wanting to include me. My mum got me alcohol-free rosé. Now, bearing in mind, I am like 6.5 years sober. I think it was last year, so 5.5 years alcohol-free. And it was the first time I'd had an alcohol-free wine. So I have drunk, as I said, I've drunk some of the alcohol-free spirits and just thought there's not really any point. I do like an alcohol-free beer, especially in summer, like by the campfire, by the river. But rosé wine was my thing, right? Like I could drink that like it was soda, and yeah, like it was pop. And I loved it. And when I tasted it, I was like, oh, yeah. So even 5.5 years later, I actually found it really triggering, because I found myself in the supermarket the next day, or going to a specific supermarket to try and find it. And I don't know about the UK, but in France, it depends on the supermarket. The alcohol-free versions are
Yeah.
actually in the alcohol aisle. And I was searching the wines for, where's the alcohol-free version? And I couldn't find it. And there was a fleeting thought of, I could just get a normal bottle of wine. Like, I just want the taste of the wine. I don't want to get drunk. I just want the taste. And so for me, it was really triggering to actually, and it made me stop and go, I think that's off limits. Well, that is off limits for me now, because it would get to the stage where I'd be like, actually, if I can't find the alcohol-free version, let me just have a sip or a gulp or a glass or a bottle of rosé. So
Yeah,
I totally get that.
I went to a friend's 50th party the weekend that I moved, and they are absolutely wild. And I knew that they were like, I said, I don't know if I'm going to come, because they would have woken up drunk. I was like, there's no point in the day or evening when it's going to be a better point for me to go.
Mm-hmm.
At any point that I go, they're going to be absolutely pissed, and I'm going to be aware of that fact, and I'm going to either not want to stay, want to go home, or whatever. So I was like, I'm not sure how I'm going to play this. I want to go. I want to wish her a happy birthday, but I know I'll be bored and uncomfortable quickly. Not uncomfortable because I feel like drinking it's just no fun. And it's so loud, and they're so gregarious, and they're so just exactly like I was when I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So fucking annoying. And so I thought either I'll go early in the afternoon and then be gone by the time most other people arrive. And then it didn't pan out that way. I was painting and cleaning and doing moving things. So I ended up getting there about 8:30 in the evening. But on the way, I went to a supermarket to get some Prosecco and a bottle of alcohol for her, which is, I'll talk about that afterwards. Buying alcohol.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that afterwards. I won't make a note of it. And some alcohol-free beer. And when I got there, it was close to closing, and the whole of the alcohol-free section was completely covered by all these trolleys of stock that they were trying to put out. So I tried to reach around to try and I managed to get the Prosecco, and then I could see the beer, the Erdinger beer that I wanted, but I couldn't reach it. And I went to find a sales assistant, and I was like, can I have your help, because I need to get to a drink? And she's like, oh, the drinks aren't covered up. What do you mean? And I said, oh no, the section I need to get to are. And I think I was being a bit of a dick as well, because I thought, I was actually going to find you, take you over there and say this is really out of order. So I was being a bit of a dick. And she went, oh really? And I said, yeah. And I said, come. And I said, I want to get to this section. And she looked at me, she's like, oh, 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 okay. What do you want? I said, I want the beer in there that I can't reach. Oh, I'll get it for you. I can't move all these trolleys. She couldn't get the beer. And she went, I can't reach it. I said, well, can you get someone to take the trolleys then? And there were so many trolleys, big cages. And they had to come and move the ages. And I recently got the 1 pack of 4 alcohol-free beers. I went off and I thought, it's a Saturday night. I'm going to a party. And I want my 4 alcohol beers. I'm going to have them.
Yeah.
Why should it be that you feel it's appropriate to block off the alcohol-free section?
Yeah. Yeah. Could you imagine if it was the alcohol aisle?
Right. It's not okay.
No.
And I walked off very militantly with my 4 beers, my 4 Erdinger. But buying alcohol for other people is something I won't buy around in a pub.
No.
Alcohol in there.
Like, it's going out to dinner as well. Like, if we go out to dinner here, which we do, but you know, there's not really pubs as such. It's all it's more kind of dinner or cafe culture. It is like, okay, well, I'm happy with water, and I can eat out for like 28 euros for 2 of us if we not have alcohol. But you can at least double that if you're drinking, if not triple or quadruple it. And I'm like, absolutely not. Am I paying for other people to drink? And it is interesting, isn't it, as you move through this journey. So any men in my life in particular would get alcohol for presents. Like, okay, what do we get them? I don't know. We'll get them a nice bottle of, or saying thank you, get a nice bottle of. And now I absolutely refuse. There is no way I would ever buy anyone alcohol as a present. And definitely not paying for it when we're out and about or getting a round of drinks in. And I've had somebody in the group saying about that as well. Like, it seems it doesn't matter how you work it, you always get kind of, unless you say, well, I'm just going to pay for my own part, which is fine, guys. Like, that is absolutely fine to say, I'm just going to pay for my own drink. It doesn't matter what other people think. You are absolutely entitled to do that in a pub. Otherwise, you end up paying for incredibly expensive drinks for other people to be drinking.
Yeah, and I did buy my friend a bottle of Prosecco for her birthday that night, and I got to her house and there was like 23 other bottles of Prosecco, and I just thought to myself, this bottle of Prosecco is going to be truly valued and appreciated.
Yeah.
I'll just put it on the table with all the other identical bottles of Prosecco.
Really glad I did that.
It's interesting. So although I wouldn't buy rounds at a pub, I'm not there yet with the individual buying of. I'm very conscious of it as I'm doing it, and also it's like I am literally feeding the beast.
Yeah.
For somebody else. I am literally complicit in this for somebody else.
Yeah. And on a bigger scale as well, right? Like, if we kind of conspiracy theory about it, we're literally feeding that industry and everything that it stands for. I do find the alcohol-free drinks are, and I do this if I go around to somebody's house who I don't, who doesn't necessarily know me very well. And one thing where I was invited to dinner, and I do like to warn them beforehand, and I like to do it via text. So there is I can really be very, very straight with my words. Like, there isn't any awkwardness, and I can really make sure that my words hold value. So I will text before I go, saying, like, just to let you know, I don't drink alcohol. I'll bring my own drinks, and leave it at that. And there's no room for anybody. It took me a long time to get to that stage where I felt very, very confident in saying that, and not feeling like I should apologize somehow for not drinking. But I do like taking alcohol-free drinks for other people because, like you say, I don't want to take alcohol for them. I don't want to feed that beast. And I do think if we can kind of encourage people to have alcohol-free drinks, especially when they're driving, like, this area is terrible for drink driving. We're in the middle of the countryside, and people seem to think that is a green light for drink driving. So it's like, look, you can have this. It is more or less the same if you want to have it, but you're going to drive home and you're going to be safe tonight. Yeah.
We all play our part, don't we?
We do. The other thing with alcohol-free drinks, when we're going into into anywhere, it is getting brilliant now. Like, as I say, in France, the alcohol-free considering that alcohol is a real part of their culture and their heritage. And I don't think that will ever change because it's generations old. But however, we have a fantastic alcohol-free range. Nearly every supermarket has an entire aisle devoted to alcohol-free. And in our cafes and our bars, and restaurants, we're always seeing mocktails, alcohol-free versions, alcohol-free gins. But I know a lot of people in North America especially seem to struggle finding alcohol-free stuff. What you can do before you go to a venue, if you're going for a wedding, whatever it is, you can phone them and ask. The other thing to remember is we are the consumers. We are still turning up with money that is just as valuable as drinkers' money. If they do not have alcohol-free versions, bust their balls about it. Be a dick. You don't need to be a dick, but you can just push them on it. Yeah, say, hey, my money's just as good. It would be great if you got some alcohol-free options in. Do you know that there's these, or even just Schweppes do a whole range of fantastic drinks that are alcohol-free, and encourage bars and restaurants to provide for you what you want. Remember, your money is just as good as anybody else's, and it is up to us to to push that, to remember that we're consumers and we deserve it. I do love it. When I went to Canada, and I remember sitting in a restaurant and said, do you have any mocktails? And she was, well, no, we don't, but actually they'd be happy to mix you something. Let me know what your palate is. And I was like, oh, this is an opportunity, right? Yeah, and it's an opportunity to get the mixologist was really enthusiastic to create something. So the more we can talk about it, and the more we can say, well, we don't just want to drink Coke or Orangina or whatever. We don't want fruit juice-based mocktail. Yeah, we want something that tastes and looks like an adult drink, and feels special. I think that's the other thing with the kids with me, is that sometimes I'm like, well, the alcohol-free versions actually are just as expensive as the alcohol versions. Alcohol-free industry, why is that? I don't want to be sharing it with my kids. No, this isn't. This is saved as a special occasion for me. So I don't want to share it. Lastly, my favourite cheap alcohol-free drink that tastes just not just fizzy water and is really good for me is, I love sparkling water, and I am a touch of apple cider vinegar and a teaspoon of honey, and I really like that. It's got an acidity to it and a sweetness to it. It is super inexpensive, doesn't keep the drinks industry. In fact, I'm saying that's the last thing. There is something else I want to say about there is always something else. The fact that it's great that the tobacco industry no longer can sponsor sports events, and no longer can alcohol companies sponsor them. However, is seeing 0.0 Guinness blazoned on a rugby pitch, is that really promoting alcohol-free drinks, or is it still really promoting the fact that they sell alcohol? I'm not sure. Annie says, thanks ladies, you kept me company while cooking tonight. I do like alcohol-free drinks in particular, if out. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. Sarah, favourite alcohol-free drink?
Ding Zero.
Okay. Yeah, there is. Brilliant. The whole Brewdog has got brilliant alcohol-free drinks.
I don't like IPA.
Yeah, interesting. It's interesting here. I went to a tiny country village bar, and I said, have you got any alcohol-free beer, thinking there is not a chance in hell. And he said, I've got two. I've got an IPA and a blonde. And I was like, I don't like IPA. And he went, okay. And he came out with both bottles, and he said to me, I want to do a blind tasting for you. So he opened both bottles for me, and he was like, which one? And I was like, the IPA. And he was like, yes. I didn't realise it was the IPA. I was like, this one. And he's like, that's the IPA. It's so nice. So it was really good. Again, he was really excited about being able to provide something for me, and he tasted them. But yeah, Thrive is another great one that I absolutely love. It's really light, high in protein, low in calories. So there are some brilliant alcohol-free versions out there if you so wish. If you find them too triggering, stay away and embrace everything else that we have to offer. Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add, Sarah?
No, that's all.
Okay. For anybody else that would like to comment or has anything else to say, by all means, reach out to Sarah and I if you're looking for support in your sobriety journey. I'd love to know what people think about alcohol-free drinks. Yes or no? Are they your thing? Are they not? And as I said, keep on asking for what you want when you go to bars and cafes. You deserve to have something nice when you're out and about. Lovely. Thank you, Sarah. We will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Take care. Bye.